Scott Constantipuri, can I help you?
We were going to church with my brothers and sisters. When we were along the road to that open space, we met some boys. They were standing. The mob of boys.
You've reached Red Crisis Center.
730. They started then threatening us with knives. They were running and they were running after me. They took off my clothes and they stabbed me. And they raped me the whole night. During the time they were raping me, I suddenly fainted. And when I wake up, I was having pains, and my mind was disturbed a lot.
While one was raping you, what was the other one doing?
The other one was standing with a knife and keep on talking, if you scream, it will kill you, and they're making noise for us.
Did they seem they were having fun?
Yes.
It was nice. She was a very young cherry. I scream is because they are inexperienced, and it is more exciting because they don't know what is happening.
They raped me the whole night, and they brought me in the morning. And it takes time to be okay for me.
I'm tatanga ngena na kamera ndamkhulula ipendi ngayibheka ngafika negazi. Dan mbona engumuntu ongatha ya anga uzakufa umntana weyiwe ngakhona. Ndathatha ukuthi mhlambe bendirongo ngokubayeka bayenkonzweni.
Christina was gang raped 2 years ago. The rapists are still at large, and the one that was jailed has just been set free. They are now threatening to kill her. The nightmare is still following her.
Sometimes if I think of it and I dream about, and then I wake up screaming, and my mother will stay with me, won't sleep that night, trying to take this out of my mind.
As a result, sometimes uba bekusithiwa bendinendlela yokusuka apha ngeke ngisuke ngingabikho nabantwana babo but andinamandla.
Each day in South Africa, there are hundreds of nightmares like Christina's, and 1 out of every 4 rapes is a gang rape.
We're looking at a situation in South Africa where there are hundreds of school leavers not able to get jobs, no source of employment, and in a way, we have a lot of the youth in South Africa joining and forming gangs. And in these gangs, I think they often develop a subculture of violence. And as this perpetuates, and that women also become targets of their aggression and their frustration.
Now, what is rape? As far as I'm concerned, rape can't be stopped because it just tends to be a habit. In this nowadays, guys are raping because of maybe they're just doing it for fun.
In a society that emphasizes violence and where violence is socially acceptable, the more extreme your violence, the greater your social status. And so, frequently, the most extreme violence is in gang rape because there are other people observing the individual, and that is how you acquire the status. And that is why the violence in gang rape is so extreme, despite the fact that they don't have to use that amount of coercion against the rape victim.
Okay. The front.
Not painful. And when I take it to the back, do you feel pain?
Yes.
There's a lot of rape that occurs in the victim's home. That is the primary area of rape. It's not the dark alleys, it's in the victim's home.
The most common kind of rape is the acquaintance or date rape. A rape by someone the woman knows. Family, husband, or friend.
A friend. I wouldn't really say it's a good friend after that, but it's a person I had known that I've related quite well to. He came in, you know, I even offered him a drink.
More than half the rapes committed in South Africa are acquaintance or date rapes.
He spent something like 10 minutes in here during which I offered him a drink, and then he said he was leaving. Naturally, I stood up to walk him out, and just then, you know, he came closer to me. He got very violent until he overpowered me and ended up forcing himself on me.
And he raped you?
He raped me, yes.
It's access. It helps if it's someone you know. You don't have to figure out how to get to them.
Those are the rapes which are the least likely to be reported because the woman feels that she's least likely to be believed. And somehow, when we talk about rape, people can understand it if it was a stranger. But when it's someone close to that person, I think it's very difficult for the woman to deal with.
What is even more difficult for a woman to deal with is a rape committed by her husband.
We have the ironical situation in South Africa that where a husband is convicted of an assault, because he can't be convicted of rape, that immunity still exists as far as a married man is concerned. The husband can be convicted of aggravated assault.
In South African society, people believe that men have a right to do whatever they would like to do with their wife, be that rape her, beat her. And in Powell, we have a lot of calls from women who categorically say their husbands raped them.
While he raped me, I was just quiet. I kept totally quiet. I never screamed. I never did a thing because of the disbelief that was in me.
Nothemba kept quiet, like most women in this country who get raped. The National Institute for Crime and Rehabilitation of Offenders, NICRO, conducted a study and discovered that 95% of rape survivors in this country keep quiet. Only 5% of these women actually report the crime.
I don't think it's few as such. People do report rapes. It's just that they are afraid of coming to the police station, but usually they do come and cases are investigated successfully.
Only 53% of crime is actually solved by the police. Now, that doesn't include all the cases that are not reported. So we're talking about a substantial amount of cases of rape, for example, where people will not report the crime, where people will not be detected. The result of that is that it gives those rapists an enormous degree of confidence actually to commit rape. But also, in addition, what we find is that rapists are not just committing rape once, they're committing it repeatedly. Some of the men that I've spoken to have committed 8 to 10 rapes and feel very comfortable with that. And the likelihood is that they are not going to get caught. And the likelihood in South Africa is that if you rape and if you murder, you will get away with it.
They took him to jail, but now he's out.
Why is he out?
Anyway, I don't know. Maybe they don't believe me. I don't know.
Christina reported the death threats to the police, but nothing has yet been done. Apart from the police, all organizations that deal with rape survivors believe that only 1 out of 20 rapes are reported. So, instead of the 22,000 or so reported rapes in 1991, there are actually 380,000 rapes a year, or 1,038 rapes a day, or 1 every 83 seconds.
Every guy can second me when I say, when you see women in short clothes, you get that desire. you do get a desire for, I mean, you become aroused, such things like that. It comes naturally. So it can contribute to rape. Short skirts, shorts like that.
Let's say you had a mini on. People would actually say, after all, you were inducing. You were somehow seductive, you know, to the perpetrator. And really, each person really has the right to put on what she would like to put on.
Okay,
Rape does not come naturally. In most cases, it is planned.
I mean, what is the use of going to masturbate? Why sit in a toilet and jet yourself off? For what reason when there are girls to do it?
South Africa is a unique, country. It's an addicted and very sick society that we live in. The whole patriarchal, system in this country, the macho stuff, the chauvinism in this country, I think adds to that.
All over the world, women experience oppression as a result of unequal power relations. In South Africa, we've seen in the past that rape has been used in politics and in the political violence in the country. Up until recently, we had a lot of reports of rape happening in detention, rape being perpetrated against women by people with opposing political opinions. So it was being used as a tool of violence.
The one thing I really wanted to do was to have a bath immediately thereafter and probably, try to shift it away.
The victim actually feels emotionally degraded. They actually feel that they actually are dirty. There are instances when victims have asked me if tablets are the only thing that I've got to offer, if I actually give them tablets to prevent having them to contract sexually transmitted diseases. The questions that they ask me are, Doctor, is this all what you give me? Are you not also going to clean me?
They feel ashamed because they feel dirty. They feel ashamed because they feel humiliated. They feel angry, and then they feel guilty that I should not have been there.
Hi, Dr. Makudu. I'm Natalie.
Nice to meet you, Natalie. Come
What I mean by guilt is that I'm forever saying to myself, what did I do during that period, just during that time? You probably wasn't doing anything wrong. It probably was me.
I just want to assure you that most women feel ashamed and they feel very guilty. And it's not your fault. Those are normal psychological emotions that most of us feel. But I want to tell you that it was not your fault. But
why did he do this to me?
He did it because rape is an act of power and control. He was just showing there that he can empower you. And society, remember, it actually empowers men too, because it blames women. So I want to go back and say, stop blaming yourself, please.
I felt I was the best. I had put her down. It made me even feel better to know I'm a man because a woman is bowing down to you.
They don't do it because they have a sexual drive. They do it because they are angry. They hate women. They have something against women. And again, they do it because they think they are doing women a favor. Yes, so they say. Why do you have to make noise about it? Aren't you lucky to have me?
The sexual component is central to rape, but it's the issue that is the primary component, the only thing that unifies rape, because there are so many different sorts of rapists and so many different types of rape, is the exertion of power over another human being. That is the common factor. And that is the only common factor because there are no prototypes of rapists.
Mama! Hello? Oh, okay. Care phone for emergency. Okay. How not the problem. Bye bye. Bye bye.
In South Africa, though the black community represents 75% of the population, 95% of the rape victims are black.
I think certainly in communities where there's a high degree of crime, those women tend to be more vulnerable. In communities where there's less lighting, for example, those women tend to be more vulnerable. Women without access to their own transport tend to be more vulnerable. Generally, more working class and poor women tend to get raped. They're more vulnerable to that. The individuals who are also raping them know that their victims have less social and economic and political power. And that means that courts often also have a perception of them in that way.
But what you described a lot the black community in South Africa.
Absolutely. I think black women in South Africa are more vulnerable to rape than white women. But all women are vulnerable.
How can a woman avoid rape? I think when you say that, to me it's like we are, giving control back to the men. But at any rate, I think a woman can take precautionary measures. And I don't want to perpetrate, to play into the stereotypes of rape. That it's your fault if you go out there at night and all that. And wear short skirts, that you called for it, all the myths about rape. Because personally, I feel that a woman has got all the right in the world to wear whatever she wants to wear and to go wherever she wants to go.
The point is that men who rape are drawn from virtually every sector of the society. Some are extremely well-mannered. Many are very charming. Some are brutal. Some are very abrupt. I don't think there is any way of actually identifying or beginning to be knowing that somebody is a rapist. What one can do is have a healthy respect for crime, in that sense, that one actually has to be observant, that one has to be cautious, that one has to place oneself where possible in situations where you know that you have some power, and that the individual has to develop, in situations particularly of date rape, a great degree of trust. That trust has to be earned, it is not just given.
So, if you do get raped, what should you do?
If your intention is to prosecute, don't take a shower or a bath, because that will actually remove all the evidence that the police and the medical staff need.
Even if you don't intend to prosecute, go see a doctor. It needn't be a district surgeon, although he is properly qualified to collect evidence and help you in court if you want to prosecute. A doctor or a district surgeon will check if you have contracted any sexually transmitted disease. If you think you may be pregnant because of the rape, he or she can give you the morning after pill to stop the pregnancy. Although resources to help rape survivors in South Africa are still very poor, some things are starting to move. For example, this abuse center in Soweto or medical legal center avoids having to go to so many places.
What is actually very good about the center is the fact that everything is done under one roof. The patient actually, or the victim, has her statement taken by an investigating officer who actually is at the center. And then the victim then gets to be counseled by the social worker. And then the victim actually gets examined, and after the examination then follows the treatment. An examination of your tummy.
If you want to report the rape but are scared of going alone to the police, phone one of the rape crisis centers. There is somebody there who will go with you.
No, nkana kadla lo gone byale. Le batla ke le lena maphodiseng. Go lokile.
A lot of women are also scared of the court procedures. Again, there is someone available to accompany you.
She's very scared. She feels very alone, and she really doesn't know anything about court procedure. So if there is somebody there that can take her to meet the public prosecutor before court starts, to show her what the court looks like, to show her where she should stand, who she should address, how she should address the magistrate, and to realize that the lawyer or the advocate is definitely going to ask her difficult questions and he's going to be very aggressive towards her, but he's only doing his job because he is being paid by the accused to work for him.
You can report a rape without intending to prosecute, but when is it better to prosecute?
As far as the law is concerned, you do not prosecute unless there is a reasonable prospect of success. And in most cases, where you have one man's word against another or one woman's word against another, the prospects of a successful prosecution are low.
But whatever your decision, whether you want to report or not, don't keep quiet. Talk about it.
Yes, talk about it. If you don't want to talk to the police, fine. But talk to someone you trust, you know, or someone you feel comfortable with. It definitely will help to talk to someone. Just talk. And I found that the more I spoke about it, the more I got better. It was a therapy on its own, just talking and talking and talking about it.
I think if I can talk about what happened, I think it will come out of my mind because it disturbs me a lot.
They have been emotionally abused, but at the same time, society tells them, you called for it, you wanted it. So they actually need someone who could talk to them, someone who could actually understand them, someone who could help them really realize that they are not the culprits, but the victims.
We have our telephone service, okay, where people can phone in. Okay, the other aspect to our service is we also do support via correspondence. Okay, so that means that people who do not have access to phones and live in very outlying areas, in particular where there's no one they can speak to, can write us letters, and we will send them back a letter with the information and support we can give them. And we'll also look up and see if there's anyone working in an area near them who could be of assistance.
Now, I would like us
With more than 1,000 rapes a day in South Africa, this crime has reached epidemic proportions. Even though resources do exist to help rape survivors, it is not sufficient.
What can this woman then do?
For a country which is the highest, you know, in the world as far as rape is concerned or sexual assault is concerned, I think it's a drop in the ocean. It is not sufficient at all. There is nothing. We need, you know, facilities. We need infrastructure. We need, you know, the help of international communities to have or to erect or build rape crisis centers, especially in the black townships. Because white people in this country, you know, have got facilities.
There are no magic solutions to stop rape, but there are things that could be done now.
I don't think the law would make much difference. Look, I don't think you can make anything more severe than by imposing the death penalty. But I think what one must bear in mind is that, especially over the last 3 decades, South Africa is one of the most violent societies in the world. Rape is a violent offense. Therefore, one can expect the incidence of rape to increase as the cyclus of violence increases. The answer is simply that South Africa has got to get out of this violent cyclus. And the only way it can get out of this violent cycle is when we have achieved some form of political stability.
I don't think there's a solution to stopping rape in South Africa. There's certainly solutions to reduce the incidence of rape in South Africa. In the short term, I think it's very clear that we need more effective law enforcement. That means not just more police, but better trained police. Police who are more knowledgeable about apprehending offenders. Police who encourage reporting, women to report. Police who can develop a strong liaison with the community, because the only effective type of policing requires community support. But one also has to look at other factors, and one has to begin to look at a community morality, asserting a community morality. When women in Soweto protest in 1990 about gang rape, what they are doing is that they are asserting a community morality. They are saying to rapists or potential rapists, what you are doing is socially unacceptable. They're not talking about the physical consequences. They're saying that you will be socially marginalized. We need education which says this is how people behave sexually. This is, if a woman says no, then you have to respect it.
Yeah. Hi, ke tsamaya le ena Ntshane.
Man, you don't know this guy.
No, ke tsamaya le ena
Ntshane.
Okay.
Bye.
Next time.
Bye.
Men are not born to rape. The individuals that are raping are not born to rape. They didn't have a rapist label put on them. They are partly products of a particular society, a society which has encouraged powerlessness for many of them. And for that, we have to look at economic programs and we have to look at political solutions.
The way a mother raises her child is very important, because many rapists say they only knew a mother that abused them. He grows up to hate women, and all he wants to do is to humiliate women. And if we could teach parents to cuddle their little boys and to not say, crying, you're a sissy if you cry. Little boy is not allowed to cry. A little boy can also be scared. A little boy can also want his mommy's cuddle. If we can change that, it might be that we can help rape victims from not becoming victims.
I would really say people in general who may not be actually understand, how painful it is to be actually raped, to have a person actually sleeping with you without your consent.
Even the society, I don't think the society is kind enough to rape victims.
Medically, there is a lot to rape than actually strikes the eye.
Our women are going through hell in this country.
If they keep on doing this or raping, I don't think they understand that they're destroying the life of girls.
Today in South Africa, 1 out of every 2 women will be raped. This means that one of these 2 little girls will probably get raped in her lifetime. Can you stop it now? During the time you were watching this video, 22 women were being raped. If you have been raped, talk about it now. Here are a few of the rape crisis centers. Johannesburg, 642-4345. Pretoria, 323-1020, code 6369. Pietermaritzburg, 0331-56279. Cape Town, 479762. Or phone one of the lifelines near you. And for any emergencies, the nationwide police flying squad number is 10111.